Hi, it's Craig, Scratch at 50. Sorry it's a bit late, but I had a bit of a technical issue and had to change the web camera very quickly. So, this is another live podcast, and the whole idea of it being live is that you can get involved in the comments. So, please, if you want to join in the conversation, you want to ask any questions, then please get posting your live comments and I will happily read them out. As long as they're golf related, you know, all we talk about on here is all aspects, different aspects of golf. So as long as your comments are related to golf, then I'll be happy to read them out and let me know where you are and where you're watching from as well. So today I've been doing a little bit of investigation work around live golf, and I found two quite interesting stories from very good, solid sources. And one is around a UK TV deal, and the other one is about Live Golf getting awarded official world golf ranking points. So let's start with the Live Golf TV deal. So it was about a couple of weeks ago now where they announced their US TV deal with the CW channel, a channel that I know absolutely nothing about whatsoever. As far as I know, well, it's not on UK uh, terrestrial TV or on cable TV or satellite TV. The CW channel is not available to us. I think you might be able to get it on an Amazon Fire Stick or something like that. And it was greeted with quite a lot of ridicule because obviously, people thought that they would have been trying to get onto something like ESPN or Fox, or it was reported for quite a while that they were actually going to pay Fox to to show their tournaments live on their channel. And I suppose when you've got all the money that Live Golf has got, you can afford to pay Fox to, you know, basically put your golf tournaments on their network. But they announced they were going with the CW channel. And apparently, from what I've learned, the CW channel tends to have a lot of teen programs and has got no history with actually showing sport whatsoever. So it did seem like a little bit of an odd choice. But now I've done a little bit of extra sort of investigation into it. There's a little bit more to it than meets the eye. So I'll just keep glancing down here because I've got all of the sort of details here. So the CW channel was actually bought out by a company called Nexstar. Now, Nexstar are an absolute giant of the uh, media world. I mean, they are a 4.5 billion company, and they've got network affiliates with ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, and the CW channel. So they've got obviously a lot of connections to a lot of major networks. Now, obviously, a lot of those networks already show the PGA Tour, so there wouldn't be any opportunity. But even still, the fact that such a huge media company is involved with Live Golf is actually more sort of relevant than the CW channel, really. And then if you go a little bit deeper again, the CW Nexstar actually bought the CW channel from Warner Brothers and Paramount. Again, two huge, powerful media companies. And Warner Brothers and Paramount both retained a 12.5% equity in the CW channel. So both of them obviously totaling 25%. So actually, by going with the CW channel, they've got Nexstar, who's a huge media behemoth of a company, and Warner Brothers and Paramount, who all have a vested interest in Live Golf being successful. So it's not as silly a move as what it may have first appeared. But one thing that they did announce when they announced the CW channel was that they were stopping their YouTube broadcasts. So that obviously meant, for us in the UK, okay, so we can't get the CW channel. It's not going to be on YouTube. So where do we actually watch Live Golf if we wanted to? Obviously, not everyone's interested in it. As we spoke about in the last podcast, there's very, very strong opinions on either side here, and it seems to be that you're on one side or the other. Me personally, I'm keeping an open mind to it all. I did watch the live events last year. There's some of it that I really like, and there's some of it that I don't think is that great. And we'll get into that in another podcast, I'm sure. But you know, where I just think that they wouldn't have pulled the YouTube broadcast unless they had a plan for streaming their tournaments in the UK because make no mistake about it, the US and the UK are their two biggest markets that they need to make sure that they are getting their tournaments broadcasting. So then I'm just going to get it up on my screen here. So there is a Twitter account called at Flushing It Golf. Now, it obviously has, or the person behind it obviously has a very good source at Live Golf because they've been very accurate in predicting players that were, rumored to come across. That account pretty much got it 100% right when they named a player was coming over. That actually happened, so it would appear they've got a really good source. And they put a tweet out saying the live schedule is now official, and I've been reliably informed that a UK TV deal will be announced within the coming weeks. So that would make sense because, like I say, they wouldn't have pulled the YouTube broadcast without there being some kind of plan for broadcasting their tournaments in the UK. So let's just say that has come as very reliable information because, like I say, that account does seem to have a reliable source of information from Live. So that then means, well, which UK channel is it going to be actually broadcast on? Now, for me, with the amount of money that they've got behind them with Live Golf, for me, they should try and get it on one of the terrestrial channels, which would be the BBC, Channel 4, or Channel 5. I don't think ITV would take it. And there's a lot of adverts on ITV. Now, the BBC would seem to be an absolutely perfect place for it. The BBC used to have all, back in my, when I was watching golf on TV, the Masters was on BBC, the Open was on BBC. There was a lot of European tour events like the World Match Play at Wentworth, uh, the Benson and Hedges. These were huge European tour tournaments, and they were all shown on the BBC. There is no golf on the BBC now. Zero, zilch, nada, nothing at all. So for me, it would make sense for Liv to actually go to the BBC and give it them for free. Don't try and charge them for it because actually getting their product seen is more important at the moment. And the BBC would actually make really good sense because the BBC has no adverts either. So you just have continuous golf coverage like they did on YouTube. And it would start to get quite a big audience as well. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I had a look at what other channels it could be. Now they might go down the CW route, and they may choose like a really obscure channel that you would never think would put golf on, but actually it's on. It's in everybody's home, so it would be available for people to go and get it. And there would be channels like there's one called Dave, which is like a comedy channel. There's Gold, which shows a lot of sort of old classic TV programs. Pick Challenge. It could end up on one of those. But I think the BBC would actually be the perfect place for it. But there's been no rumours of that. There's been no rumours of anything whatsoever about where it might be going. So okay, we've got some comments. Yeah, so okay, the CW is not widely available. Okay, so just it's supposed to be in 120 million homes, isn't it? I think it's something like that. That's from Mason. Industrial Pallets Works. Big hello. That's a good long-standing friend of the channel. Thanks for joining in. It's not a sports channel, I can tell you that. Yeah, it's not. It's not for sure. But I don't think that's that important to Live, to be honest. Live just wants to make sure that it's got, a TV channel that's widely available to a lot of people, that they'll be able to go and watch it. I mean, I'm sure they would have much preferred to have ended up on Fox or I always thought that a streaming service would have been, where it was going to end up. I thought Amazon Prime was going to be the absolute favorite because they're buying up a lot of Premier League football matches now. They show all the ATP tennis, so they've definitely started to move into sports. And I just thought that Live Golf might actually tick a few boxes for them, but maybe they just think it's just still a little bit too controversial at the moment. Uh, and that obviously didn't happen. But I think it could end up on a similar channel in the UK. I think that could, I'm sure that if there was some sort of rumours going around that it was going to go on to one of the big mainstream channels like the BBC, Channel 4 or Channel 5, we would have heard something about it by now. So it's going to be interesting to see that there's definitely going to be an announcement soon because I mean, what is it? The first event's in is it 24th of February? I think it's literally 2 or 3 weeks away at the most. So they're going to have to announce something fairly quickly. Uh, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see which UK TV channel ends up showing live golf. Uh, Mason says the BBC route seems like a good idea, although they might go the darts route and end up on Sky. There's no way it's going on Sky. No, no chance whatsoever. Sky are all in with the PGA Tour, and they do a great job. They do a great job, and the PGA Tour is an amazing product. You know, let's make that one thing clear. You will find me on here keeping a very open mind on live golf on the PGA Tour. I want to make sure that I'm on no one's side here. I'm 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 keeping an open mind on live golf because I do think to attract a younger audience, we do start to need to do something different. And Liv's trying to do that. Whether it's the actual answer is very much up in the air at the moment. And this new sort of TGL thing that Tiger and Rory are doing with stadium golf, I mean, it sounds really wacky. But I'll wait until I watch it before I give a verdict on it. But I do like the fact that they're both trying to do something a little bit different because golf has been the same for 70 plus years. And I don't know. I know a lot of people watching in the UK are obviously very familiar with cricket. I know I've got quite a lot of viewers, subscribers that are in the US. So I'm not quite sure how familiar you are with the game of cricket. But in many ways, there's a lot of sort of comparisons here. Cricket was, Test match cricket is the really traditional. That's the way cricket has been forever and a day. It's 5 long days, and it doesn't always end up with a result either, which to a lot of sports fans seems extremely odd. Uh, but cricket was in decline. Cricket was losing. Stadiums were empty. No one was going to watch it. It was considered to be too long, too slow. And we are in a world now where everyone wants things quick. Your delivery's got to be through your door the next day. Your food's got to be through your door within 20 minutes. You can't wait a week to watch the next episode of your favorite program. You can stream it and watch one after the other, and binge watch 5, 6 episodes in a row. Everyone's getting used to things being quick, and golf's not like that. Obviously, the traditionalists still love it, and I still love it. But in order to attract the next generation and a younger audience, maybe we do need to do something a little bit different. And they've got a completely different perspective on things because they've got used to this new interactive, like social media. You get your news straight away. You'd have to wait till, when I was young, you had to wait for the news to come on at 10 o'clock at night to find out what had been happening in the world. Now you've got instant access to it. So I think in some respects, again, I'm not going to get into live too much, but I do think that the shotgun start and the whole thing being done and dusted in 4 hours and all your players on the course at the same time and it's done quicker. I do think there's some actual sense in that just to do something different. We shouldn't lose the PGA Tour at all. That still needs to be there. We're about to go into the really iconic tournaments now where these amazing, the waste management's coming up next and the field looks absolutely unbelievable. So it's going to be the first one of these elevated events. Uh, but I'm just keeping an open mind on, just to see where live golf goes. It's not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. Whether it's got a long term future, nobody really knows at the moment. So let's just see what happens and where it ends up TV wise. Because actually, if it ends up on a really strong channel in the UK, that will make a massive difference. That will help it grow without a doubt. Because not everyone's got Sky in the UK. There is a lot of people with Sky Sports, but by no means has everyone got it. Whereas everyone's got the BBC, everyone's got Channel 4, everyone's got Channel 5. So if they did go with one of those stations, it could be absolutely huge for Live. So let's just see what happens. The next thing is the official world golf ranking point. So this one is a real sort of like contentious issue when it comes to Live. Now, obviously, the official golf world rankings has got criteria put in place that Live Golf does not meet. Okay, and the three main things on that is it must be 72 holes. it must have a cut, and it must have been a tour for 3 years before it'll get considered for official world golf ranking points. Now, that criteria worked incredibly well when all of the applicants for world ranking points were just very small tours with no players that were going to have any effect on the rankings itself. Because you've got to remember, for the official world golf rankings to exist, it has to remain relevant and accurate. And the problem is with that criteria is that no one would have thought that a tour would come along and within its first 5 tournaments take 28% of the top 50 golfers in the world. When that happened, that criteria all of a sudden just does not work to enable the official world golf ranking points to stay relevant and stay accurate, because you can't have 28% of the top 50 golfers in the world not being ranked for 3 years. Because what's in danger of happening is that the majors will then say, well, hold on a minute, I want Cameron Smith, I want Dustin Johnson in my tournament. I want to have the best golfers in the world at my major. That's the mantra of the majors. And if all of a sudden all of these golfers have gone 200, 300, 400 in the world because they're not earning any ranking points, the majors will probably just turn around and go, okay, we're not going to use the official world golf rankings anymore to determine who gets into our tournament. And then the official world golf rankings is finished. So that meant that they've had to obviously rethink what they're doing. Now, I'm going to play you something here. So I don't know how familiar you are with a journalist called Alan Shipnuck. He is one of the most respected golf journalists in the world. He worked for Sports Illustrated for a long time. He's now working for his own uh, his own they're called the Fire Pit Collective. They do a fire drill podcast. They're doing a lot of really good stuff. But he's most well known for he wrote the Phil Mickelson book that caused all of the controversy just before Live was announced. When he came out with all his comments about the Saudis, and it caused all kinds of uproar. Phil Mickelson claims that it was said off the record, which is probably no, it's just not true, allegedly. But the main point here is that Alan Shipnuck is a very respected journalist, and he has extremely good sources. So let me just play you. I'm going to play it on my phone. It should pick it up on the microphone. Let me play you what Alan Shipnuck has said just recently about Live Golf and the OWGR.
Because I was speaking on the phone with a member of the OWGR board. It's the inner sanctum. They don't want their name used publicly, but this person said that despite all the mudslinging and the name calling, there's actually a lot of communication between the institution of the OWGR and Live Golf, and things are happening. And um, he he didn't think it was going to be resolved publicly by the time of the Masters, but it sounds like shortly thereafter. I think there will be some changes. Whether, and I get the feeling it's on both from Live, but more from the OWGR and how they're gonna deal with Live. Some sort of solution is being brokered, and it sounds like the conversations are productive. And he said the institution is succeeding in that the WGR has criteria. They have comment periods. They have conversations with many tours around the world, and there's give and take about what these tours can do to qualify. And he said it's no different. And so even though I don't think Live wants it publicly it's a closed shop, and they're aligned against us and they're screwing us over. That the reality is there's a lot of communication going on, and that OWGR is trying to find a solution. Now, this was one member of the board. But I have no reason to doubt what he's telling me. And
So there you go, Alan Shipnuck. And I just don't think he would publicly go on his podcast and say that he's spoken to an OWGR member who has said that Live Golf is going to get awarded official world golf ranking points around the Masters, around April time. unless he was absolutely sure that that was obviously an extremely solid source. I think also the very interesting thing that was said there was that there was movement on both sides. So obviously, I think OWGR are definitely obviously going to, you know, the 3 year period is going to go out the window because they're going to give them some sort of points around April. And then obviously, I think on the other side, I think Liv are going to have to give some concession as well. So maybe they'll have to go to 4 rounds. Uh, you know, I don't know. That would seem to be the obvious thing that Liv say, okay, we'll go to 4 rounds. I'm sure all those players are not going to be too bothered about having to play another round of golf. Certainly with the money that they're earning. Uh, but yeah, when I came across that and saw that, a board member on the official World Golf Ranking list was actually saying that there's a lot of dialogue between them and Liv. Uh, Also, it was mentioned in other channels as well that Jay Monahan and Keith Pelly, so commissioner of the PGA Tour and commissioner of the DP World Tour, have said that they've taken a step back off the board for the decision on Live Golf, which is absolutely what they should do. But also, they have to do that because of the antitrust case. They will be putting themselves right in the trouble if it was found that they were being involved in that and trying to, get in the way of it in any way or something along those lines. So I think, you know, Live Golf, they are going to get official world golf ranking points. There's a lot of people who aren't happy about that. But, you know, at the end of the day, for the OWGR to stay relevant and to actually survive as an organization, they have to come up with a solution. And it has to be a solution that's going to show that they've not, given up all the ground. So I think Live are going to have to do something. And I think it will be that they'll go to 72 holes. Let me know what you think. Get in the comments now, or if you're watching this after it was live, then get in the comments and tell me what you think. I think that Live Golf is, and so the other interesting thing here is, let's just say that that is going to happen. Let's just fast forward now to April, and Live Golf gets awarded official world golf ranking points. What does that do as far as getting more players to move across from the PGA Tour to Live? Is the fact that there's no official world golf ranking points at the moment why certain players who might have been thinking of going are just sitting on the fence at the moment? Because they obviously don't want to lose their world ranking. They want to make sure that they can get into the majors in the future. So when Live Golf gets official world golf ranking points, which from what we've heard from Alan Shitnut there, it sounds like they are. Is that going to open up the floodgates? It's very strongly, Mito Pereira, it would appear that he's definitely going across, without a doubt. But, it's strongly connected with Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay. Uh, it did seem like those two were thinking of moving across, and all of a sudden they've stayed on the PGA Tour. Is that because they just it was all up in the air about the OWGR and they just wanted to see how that was going to sort of pan out, or have they listened to what the PGA Tour have said and they've just thought, what, actually we're going to stay where we are. We're getting these elevated events. PGA Tour's found another 200 million in prize money to throw at us. So actually, yeah, I'll stay here now. Who knows? But I'm sure the fact that Liv do appear to be getting some OWGR points, that it is going to mean that attracting players could be a lot easier in the future, because it's going to be another one of those little things that are in the way that's going to help them recruit players to come across. And it would appear, apart from Tiger, apart from Rory, probably apart from Justin Thomas, I'd probably say Jordan Spieth as well. Uh, there might be some others. Everyone has a price, and you know, like it or lump it, Live can offer pretty much any price that they want to try and get a player to come across. So it's going to be interesting to see that when uh, Live Golf do get their official world golf ranking points, whether it does actually open up the floodgates for more players to move across. But of course, the other thing is, if it's not happening until April, does that mean that it's not possible for them to bring players over? Because they did say that they were going to have their full 48-man field locked in before the first event, which is only obviously 2 or 3 weeks away. So if that's true, then that would mean that players wouldn't be able to come across till the start of 2024. It's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. I wouldn't like to say. I mean, there's been Live Golf has achieved a lot more than I thought it would. They've attracted a lot better players than I thought they would. So I wouldn't rule anything out whatsoever. I think that if they get OWGR, then it could actually help them recruit a lot more players to come over to their tour, because their first third of their field is very strong. Their second third is pretty strong, but their last third is very weak, and that's where they've got to try and strengthen up. So they definitely need to do some more recruiting, and maybe OWGR is going to be the one thing that's going to help them to do that. Get into the comments. Let me know what you think. Chad has come on. More opportunities for players is never a bad thing. Yeah, it's true. It's going to be also, of course, just started now today. I think it was today in London is the court case with the DP World Tour and Live golfers. So that is going to be the first real sort of sign of how this is all going to pan out. So you've got Live that's saying that golfers are all independent contractors and they should be able to play wherever they want to. And the DP World Tour, in this case, is saying, no, we've got membership criteria and we determine, which members play in our tournaments. So, no, I don't think anyone really knows how that's going to turn out. The court case has just started. As I said in the previous podcast, the DP World Tour is in a totally different place to the PGA Tour. The PGA Tour is an amazing product with by far the best golfers in the world still playing on it by an absolute country mile. Still with all the iconic, historic tournaments. So, the PGA Tour, I still think is in a very strong position. Okay. Whereas the DP World Tour is not whatsoever. It's been in decline for a long time. The days when the top European players used to stay and still support the European Tour. So, back in the day with your Faldos, your Sevis, your Langers, your Alatabals, they all used to play their predominantly of their tournaments on the European Tour. And used to just go and obviously play the majors in the USA and cherry pick some of the sort of real top tournaments. They never played full PGA Tour schedules. Whereas for a long time now, because the DP World Tour has kind of gone into decline, as soon as a European player, shows some real promise and makes some big strides and gets a really strong world ranking, they go and join the PGA Tour, and you can't blame them for doing it. I mean, like Tommy Fleetwood would be a great example. You can't blame Tommy Fleetwood for going and taking those opportunities when actually the tournaments on the DP World Tour now are actually not that, attractive, or not as attractive as they used to be. But when the live golfers are playing in those tournaments, it adds a load of spice. It adds a lot more to those tournaments. It makes those tournaments a lot more interesting and creates a lot more interest around the tournament. So for me, for the DP World Tour, I don't think it would be a bad thing if the live golfers are allowed to continue to play in them. And I honestly think that a lot of the DP World Tour members have not got a problem with Ian Poulter, Lee Westwood. I was going to say Sergio Garcia, but he's alienated himself with his behaviour recently. But certainly with his before, Henrik Stenson. I think they, the DP World Tour members recognise that they've played a huge part in supporting European golf and that tour in the past. And I don't think that they've got too much of a problem when they go and play in the DP World Tour. There obviously will be some that do, but I think overall they recognise that they have contributed massively to the tour that they are now earning a living off. And those players have played a massive part in establishing that tour. I think the ones that stick in the throat a bit are like Patrick Reed, and some of the sort of players that haven't played supported the European Tour or played on the DP World Tour for a long time, and they're sort of like double dipping from live. Taylor Gooch would be another one. I think that's the situation that is really riling people up. But make no mistake, when Patrick Reed and Taylor Gooch go and play in those DP World Tour events, there's a load more media, there's a load more column inches written about it, there's a lot more interest on the TV than when they're not there. So is that a bad thing? What do you think? Do you think that they should just definitely not play? Or, is it good for the DP World Tour? The PGA Tour is completely different because they don't need the live golfers to still have a great product. They've still got an amazing product. If you look at that field for the waste management, the first of these sort of elevated events, it's absolutely stacked. I mean, the only PGA Tour event that is going to lose a little bit of its sheen is the Players Championship at Sawgrass, because it always said that it's the strongest field in the world because all of the players played in the Players Championship, whereas this year the defending champion is not going to be there, and whether you want to admit it or not, there are still three, four, five, six golfers on the Live Tour that are fantastic golfers and would certainly add to the Players' Championship if they were taking part. Apart from that, the PGA Tour is still, like I say, in an incredibly strong position. The DP World Tour, I think that having live golfers there is actually, bringing a lot more attention to that tour and those tournaments than what they'd normally get. Uh, so what we got here. So they're a bad thing, and the game has to continue to grow no matter what that means. Excuse me. Yeah, yeah. There's also another argument to say that because lives come along, just overall in golf. I mean, has golf ever had so much attention? Has golf ever had so much news about it? I certainly can't remember a time like this. Uh, I was reading something today where Butch Harmon has come out and said that every PGA Tour player should be thanking Liv for, you know, what it's done to the PGA Tour, as in giving the players a little bit more control. They're earning a lot more money. It's probably true. Probably don't want to admit it, but it's probably true. Chad, I would love to see the PGA Tour help support and grow the DP World Tour. Well, they are trying to do that, aren't they? I mean, this strategic alliance, let's not make any bones about this. They did that more to make sure that Liv didn't get an alliance with the DP World Tour than to actually have the DP World Tour's best interests at heart. That would be my opinion for sure. But having said that, they are starting to try and help, and I think they've said, haven't they? It's not going to be till 2024 that we'll really see how this is borne out. So the top 10 on the DP World Tour Order of Merit will now automatically qualify for the PGA Tour. That's great. But if you take the 10 best players from the DP World Tour and put them onto the PGA Tour, where does that leave the DP World Tour for the next year? It depletes it, doesn't it? So, is that helping it or is that hindering it? Probably hindering it a little bit. Uh, they are having some co-sanctioned events. So the Scottish Open is going to be one. That's a great tournament, always played on great courses, always just before the Open Championship. So, that's definitely going to be a massive event with it being co-sanctioned. And it's an easy one for the PGA Tour to do that because all the PGA Tour players want to come over and play some links golf before the Open Championship. So that makes sense and it'll be very successful. I'm not sure whether the BMW PGA at Wentworth is a co-sanctioned event. That's the biggest tournament on the DP World Tour. It would seem to make sense that that would become a co-sanctioned event as well. So yes, the PGA Tour are starting to show some signs of helping support the DP World Tour a little bit, but I'm still not. I just don't think it's enough. I think there's still a lot more that they could do. I would love to see them. This is Chad again. I would love to see them do more for the mini tours. That's where the future talent will come from. That is a great point. That is a great point. So there's a tour over here which a lot of the UK viewers will know about. It was called the Euro Pro Tour. So basically, you had the Euro Pro Tour, the Challenge Tour, and then the DP World Tour. So it was two tours underneath the DP World Tour, and it was, the proving ground for a lot of players that have gone on to play on the DP World Tour. Uh, I'll probably have to do a bit of research on that, but if you will definitely find some golfers that everyone knows about now who started on the Euro Pro Tour. And at the end of last year, the end of 2022, the Euro Pro Tour stopped because it couldn't raise any money, couldn't get enough sponsorship to survive. And you know what? I think it was only offering first place may have been £10,000. It wasn't a tour that you could earn a lot of money off, but it was your stepping stone to the Challenge Tour, and then obviously your stepping stone was from there to get onto the DP World Tour. So that's a really good point. With the Euro Pro Tour gone now, that pathway to try and make your way as a professional golfer has just got a whole lot harder. Would Live make themselves a lot more popular if they went and funded a little mini tour like that? I mean, it would be pocket change to them. It would be absolutely nothing, but it would actually give them some real kind of, you know, good story, a good news story. And let's face it, Live has not got too many of those. Maybe that's what it should do. You could argue that that's what it's trying to do with the Asian tour. It is pumping a lot of money into the Asian tour. And, that's another thing as well, with the way it's going and the money that Live is invested in the Asian tour purses are going to be bigger than the DP World Tour purses are. So if you're a professional golfer on the DP World Tour, where are you going to go and play? Are you going to play you're going to play on the DP World Tour, or would you want to go and play on the Asian Tour where there's more money available, but less opportunity? Because there is a pathway from the Asian Tour onto the Live Golf Tour, but it's tiny. I think it's maybe one or two players can get from the Asian Tour onto the Live Tour, whereas on the DP World Tour, you finish in the top 10 and you go to the PGA Tour. I think if it was me, I'd still stay on the PGA. I'd still stay on the DP World Tour and take my chances. I'm trying to, get in the top 10 to get onto the PGA Tour. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there. Chad, thank you so much. Outstanding podcast, Craig. I love it. I'll catch the rest later. Dad duty's calling. Yeah, totally get it because of the time difference. It's quite late here in the UK. It's obviously midday, and depending on where you are in the USA, we'll leave it there. So basically, as a wrap up, let's keep a lookout. Live Golf is going to get a UK TV deal. It'd be interesting to see where that ends up, and it would appear that they are going to get official World Golf Ranking points as well. It'll be interesting to see how many they get, and also what effect that has on the golf ecosystem. As far as where players are thinking of going and playing, it's going to be It's going to be a very interesting year this year. Live Golf's going to play a very big part in it. So these decisions are actually going to, have a big bearing on what happens in the golf world this year. Okay, that's it. Thanks for joining. If you're watching this after the event, please still get in the comments and let me know what you think. The weekly live podcast, which is every week, is tomorrow at 9 o'clock. That's every Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. So that is the golf week that was, where we're going to look back on everything that happened in the past week in the world of golf. I will be just jumping on and doing these more impromptu podcasts. And you need to be subscribed to be notified that that is going to come up, because I never know when they're going to be. They're going to be just because a bit of news has come out. So if you're interested in listening to the podcast or getting involved in the live comments, then hit that subscribe and notification bell to make sure that you know that I am going to be going live, that evening or maybe the next evening. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.